mouth fresheners, which does not really freshen up our minds. So only way to freshen up minds is that if I can start by asking questions to the audience. So what I'll do is I will start by asking somebody, why do you think we should discuss technology and innovation in the subject such as of BRICS? Anybody can answer this. No, nobody? Why should we discuss technology and innovation in a discussion such as the BRICS? Okay. So let me then tickle your minds further by talking about technology and innovation. I feel that every nation needs to have a power to be recognized, to occupy a seat of relevance, which is a seat at the high table. If you are today not technologically competent or enabled, then you do not contribute to your own comprehensive national power. And today's comprehensive national power is not only a comprehensive national power for the nation, but it is also a comprehensive national power in collaboration.
Recording in progress.
When you talk about BRICS, BRICS is nothing but a group of countries which have come together because we have common threats, we have common opportunities, we have common interests, and we are looking for commonality in synergy. So as a result, what happens is that when you find some challenges, you also find challenges in technology. When you find opportunities, you also find opportunities in technology. But when you want to translate that into power, then the only driving force which translates anything today into power is technology. And you know, very recently, there are conflicts going on all over the world. And you find the basic war-winning empowerment is done through technology. When you talk about fintech, today money is all about technology. When you talk about narrative, information all about technology. You have had computers, you call it IT. Then you realize that it is not only information technology, you also need to communicate and you need to network. So you went into ICT. Then you realize that you created huge amount of networks on which machines work. Then you go into the cyber world. And then you realize that space is now one big common open, which the entire world is entitled to send the satellites to. So the rockets are flying, the satellites are being deployed. And the traditional technologies such as internet are also under challenge because Elon Musk through SpaceX is launching the satellites in the low Earth orbit in which he's going to provide direct internet to the device which is in your hands. So as a result, what will happen is that if we don't have technology, we will have a borrowed technology which is not yours, and anybody who can give you borrowed technology also can deny you that technology. So two things can happen if you don't have our own technology. One is that if you have the technology which has come from somewhere else, it can be denied. But if you have a weaker technology, then it can be disrupted. So denial and disruption is one big problem. But if you have to collaborate, then you need to make sure that you have networks which are secure. You have networks which are trustworthy. You have friendships which do not challenge you in technology, but help you in technology to grow together. Professor Kondapalli was talking about SIPs, and I was just thinking that, you know, when you have to do a radical thing, though the spelling is different, but do it in SIPs, don't gulp it. Do it slow. Test. Sip, test, go ahead. But if you gulp, it can all go down. So I'm going to have a couple of speakers here. My first speaker today is Colonel Anurag Awasthi from, he's a tank man from the Armored Corps. He's been fighting battles on his tanks. But now he is the CEO and founder of Escape Velocity Mediaworks Pvt Ltd, New Delhi. He works on semiconductors. He understands innovation very well. So I will not stand between me and my experts who are actually the best team that has been put here together. So before I ask Anurag to show up, he's virtually being connected because he had some work in the morning, which was very important. Then I also have Mr. Ravi Lavadi. He's actually the director in the Space Industries Association, which is a partner of our MERI. He's going to talk about the SATCOM, that satellite communication, how it is a global frontier. Then we have Lakshmi Mini, is the director of NCORE, and we've been working together. She's going to be talking about the cyber safety as human security. So, which is very important because today every human being is facing digital arrest, having problems because you are so much exposed. As much you want to reach others, the others can reach you. And if you can reach anybody, they can also threaten you. So she will tell us how within the BRICS economies, how can we achieve digital resilience? And then, of course, we have Sri Shakya, my old friend. He is the additional Deputy Director General of Department of Telecommunications. He's worked with the United Nations on what is ITU. He will tell us, he will talk about the ICT and cyber, and he will also talk about the challenges of spectrum. So let me first have Colonel Anurag Awasthi speak. Anurag, are you there? Yes, Anurag, looking forward to seeing you. Thank you. Please go ahead, talk about how BRICS, innovation and technologies can be put together as a subject of today's discussion. Thank you.
All right, so thank you very much, sir. I hope everybody can hear me.
And 10 minutes, please. Thank you.
Am I audible, sir?
You are audible.
All right. General Pannu, MERI, thank you very much for having me on this panel to start with semiconductors and how the technologies are going to be shaping BRICS. Before I start, and I will stick to my time of 10 minutes and not try to move beyond that. We have to understand how the BRICS essential ecosystem is going to be shaping up in times to come. Firstly, when you look at BRICS, when we look at BRIC, which started in 2009 and became BRICS in 2010 with the, with South Africa joining the bandwagon, and thereafter, you have the Middle East, we have to look at three major things. The first thing is the economic muscle, as General Pannu has brought out very clearly. The second part is energy security. And the third part is strategic influence because of technology. It's as simple as that. So these are the basic three pillars if we speak on BRICS and the grouping of these countries, so to say. Now, when you're looking at these countries, let me give you a little segmented view also, especially for the students who are there to understand that we are looking, when you look at BRICS, you're also looking at 4 continents and the Middle East. You're looking at 35% of the world's land mass. You're looking for 50% of global population, and you're looking at a collective GDP of $31 trillion. 3 and 1, 31. So that's a huge amount of money. Now, in addition to that, you have the trade metrics, which as it is form the very backbone of this entire thing. Now, also before we start with the, how we are looking at semiconductors in this space, we also have to understand that there are the basic issues of semiconductors in the world, which essentially are three. One is the equipment, which obviously makes these, high-end chips or low-end chips or whatever you want to call them. We will not get into the nanometer paradigm. The second part is the packaging part of it, as to how you package it so that they retain whatever they have. And the third part is, of course, these, the logistics part or the supply chain part and the other issues which are associated, which includes, containerization, cartage, distribution systems, warehousing, climate controls, chemicals and gases. I mean, it's a huge chessboard, which if I start speaking now, I can actually keep speaking till tomorrow morning. Now, in terms of BRICS, I will just keep myself to BRICS. The major people who are looking at semiconductors and critical technologies today in this grouping are essentially China and India. Brazil is not very, attuned to the semiconductor ecosystem as of now. Neither is South Africa, with a little bit of silicon carbide part there. And insofar as Russia is concerned, we will have to discount it because it doesn't form part of the greater calculus of the semiconductor ecosystem. Now, when you are looking at this global map today, when you're looking at this global map, as I mentioned to you, that the troika of equipment, the materials, and the supply chains. Insofar as equipment is concerned, bulk of the equipment is made in the United States with nearly 80% of IPR. When you're looking at the extreme ultraviolet and ultraviolet machines, which are most critical for etching of these major circuits onto a wafer, they are only made in the Netherlands by ASML. So there is essentially monopolistic, or I mean, you could call it an absolute technological hegemony which the ASML in the Netherlands has. When you're looking at packaging, the packaging behemoths are China. That is what we call the ATMPs. The West calls it OSAT. It is China and some parts of Korea and some part of Malaysia and Singapore. But when you're looking at fabrication or the manufacturing facility, the bulk happens in Taiwan or in Japan or in South Korea and some part of it in Malaysia. Some part of it happens in the United States as well, but that percentage is very less. So, because of these three major issues, the entire geographies come into play, and that is why chips basically are more geopolitical than technological. This is the thing which all of you need to understand today. So anybody says, why are we not doing this and why are we not doing that? We also must understand that a single chip today, I'm not getting into any nanometers, etc., and no technological details to bore you since it's post lunch and you're still focusing on the mouth freshener, as General Pannu said. I will stick to a simple analogy that a chip which is there in your mobiles, your smartphones today, the lowest end chip, it circumnavigates the globe 3 times before it reaches you. That is the essence of a semiconductor chip today in terms of geopolitics and geotechnology. So that is what we need to understand. Now, having said that, what are the major issues of collaboration in the BRICS insofar as the semiconductors and these major high-end chips are concerned? The first collaboration which can happen, to my mind, is market access. Market access is trade metrics. It has various issues of free trade agreements. It has various issues of how and when these chips can get into these markets. What are their pricing? What is their scale? What is their cost? Etc. Etc. The second part is, since China is a very major hub of packaging or ATMP, and now also manufacturing a huge amount of legacy chips, I would implore all of you who are sitting there to also look at the Chinese big fund. That is the third tranche is coming now. Please have a look at it. It's an outstanding, unique model of public-private partnership. I don't know how it will happen and how it will go, but it's worth seeing as to how the big fund tranche 3.0, which the Chinese have taken out, will take shape. These legacy chips, especially of the high-end chips, of when we're talking about anything beyond 40 nanometers and 65 nanometers and even beyond, which are essential components of washing machines, fans, consumer electronics, various wearables, industrial equipment, etc. There can be a huge amount of collaboration which can happen insofar as technology is concerned in the BRICS countries. The most important part where a huge amount of collaboration can happen in this technological spectrum is talent and workforce development. We also must understand that, in India, we take out around 1.5 million engineers every year. The earlier part did not have the VLSI or, very large scale integration as part of the syllabus. The same thing has been tweaked by the government of India with its varied, schemes, a lot of push, the AICT getting into it and so on and so forth. So there are private universities and public universities which are looking now at VLSI courses in undergraduate levels and postgraduate levels. And since the volumes are so high insofar as these talent, segment is concerned, a huge amount of collaborations within the BRICS in the talent development space can happen. This is a very major thing, and we also must understand that because of these simple numerics, India can be and will be, not can be, it will be the talent powerhouse of the world. The fourth area of collaboration in BRICS can obviously, I will not qualify further. All of you are very, very enlightened. Could be on the rare earth metals and various minerals, which are essentially now being controlled by China. You've heard about, the rare earth magnets also, which has been a question and a subject of debate in the recent past. I will not go into too much of technology there. But when you're looking at rare earths, the Chinese mainland is endowed with nearly 35 to 40% of the rare earths of the world. And when you look at the productionization capacities, it is 90% of productionization capacities. In fact, I would get your mind back into history when Deng Xiaoping in 1987 made this profound statement that if Middle East has oil, China has rare earths. See where they've come from there 50 years hence. And now they can strangle the world because they control the maximum repository of the rare earth processing that is more important than extraction. It has its various issues of sustainability, but that's how it goes. Then the most important collaboration which can happen can be in the very stretched supply chains. As I just mentioned to you, the geographies as to where is the equipment, where are the rare earths and metals, where is the logistics, where is packaging, where is fabrication, it's all scattered all over the world. So since it is scattered all over the world, a huge amount of supply chain management can take place. And we are looking at 4 continents, as you just mentioned, insofar as BRICS is concerned. The last part is DPI, or the digital public infrastructure. All of us use, phone pay and Paytm, this, that, and the other. As students of technology, while you are here in MERI, I would implore upon you to please look at DPI not as a financial tool. It is not only a financial tool, it's a tool of governance. It is a tool of governance which can be used into a huge amount of interiors. It's a tool of governance which can be used in areas where the population is not that literate. It is a tool of governance which can be used for faster money transactions in case it is required between the government and the vendor, or the vendor and the vendor, B2B, B2C, G2G, whichever configuration you want to. Now after I've told you these, basic areas of collaboration, we also must understand there are some pain points. When you're looking at semiconductor space, there is an issue between China and Taiwan, and I would not go deeper into it. So there is an issue there, which you have to keep it in mind, which is a reality. There are some issues between India and China in terms of border disputes, etc. And while they are undergoing a huge amount of shift and change, but there are some issues which still remain, which I think are beyond the purview of this talk. And then, of course, when you're looking at Russia, Brazil, and South Africa, as I mentioned to you, ab initio, the essential infrastructure and the focus on semiconductors in these 3 countries may not be as astute as India or Russia. Now, having said all of this, there is a huge amount of scope for innovation. Now, innovation is what is going to be driving all these things. Of all of things that we've spoken about, we also must understand that India today is the design capital of the world insofar as semiconductors is concerned. More than 20% of designers of semiconductors in the world are here in India. So there's a huge amount of scope of innovation in the design part of semiconductors. There can be a huge scope of innovation in terms of yield metrics of various things, of various chips which are being fabricated or packaged. We could look at rather, enabling, changes and innovation in technologies like gallium nitride, that is the GaN, or the silicon carbide, which are more greener, have less carbon footprint, can be used on less power sources, have great power metrics, have great access to memories, etc., etc. An important part of innovation in this kind of a domain can also be a huge amount of innovation in green processes, recycling of water, which is very, very essential. Certain renewable energy for power. Because when you look at any fabrication facilities and any, packaging facilities, when you look at these, you're looking at areas of late 90s and early 2000s. And that is a time there was no SDG. There was nothing. So these semiconductor facilities are the biggest carbon footprints on the earth. So there can be a huge amount of innovation which can happen here. Then you can look at innovations in solar and silicon ingots, which will possibly be used to cut the wafers on which the dyeing and etching would take place at a later stage. As General Pannu brought out earlier, there can be innovation in fintech, there can be a huge amount of innovation in component manufacturing, and of course, the most important innovation which can come now between the BRICS is the GCCs, that's the Global Capacity Centers, larger servers, the undersea cabling, which looks at huge redundancies and digital resilience of the internet and various telecommunication backbones. And of course, lastly but not the least, since these are all five important economies in the world, we can look at a huge amount of innovative startup ecosystem getting together, which can do a lot of things together in terms of incubating technologies, incubating disruptive technologies, incubating chips for a particular weapon system or a particular application or a particular requirement. And I think there's a huge amount of scope insofar as BRICS is concerned in all these three things. And I think with that, I rest my case, sir. I think I've crossed my 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, Anurag. You brought some very important aspects, and your comment of chips are geopolitical rather than technological is extremely important. The digital public infrastructure is meant for governance, as I think is a very, very relevant point that you made. India being a design capital as far as semiconductor is concerned, I think makes a lot of sense for innovation. And at the end, I noticed that you said power. I think we need storage. We do not have the capacity to store, and that too, you go to the battlefield and you find if there is a power outage and you're going to fight a digital battlefield in a digital environment, you're going to lose out everything. So power, materials, electronics are three things which are extremely important. And global capacity centers that he's spoken about are extremely relevant. But most important thing, Anurag, that you spoke about is the talent development within BRICS. So when I say BRICS, notwithstanding the spelling of it and the meaning of it, there is K missing. And I think K can be put by MERI in it, which is knowledge. And when you talk about knowledge, talent development can be done at MERI for BRICS. And I think we can bring in a lot of sense as far as space is concerned and cyber is concerned. And I think, Anurag, you really made a case for MERI to bring knowledge, that is the K in BRICS, really making it to a building block. So, Anurag, please stay back, listen to what others are saying. We will get you back in the question hour. Next, of course, we have Mr. Ravi Elavadi, my friend from the Setcom Industries Association. He's also head of the Mathera India, which is a space company. He's going to be talking about something which is disruption through space and how Setcom is a frontier that is going to empower us. Let me also say that the Department of Space Studies came up because of the friendship of Ravi with MERI. And I think this is how the Setcom Industries Association, Space Industries Association, and MERI have come together to build the Department of Space Studies. Please give him a hand. Ravi, you have some slides? Okay, so great. So Ravi has also got some slides. In the meanwhile, I can continue to talk about it.
It's okay.
Fabrication is something which is extremely important. If we can design, but we can't fabricate, there's no point designing, you will end up working for somebody else. So if we're going to become a digital colony, it is because at the end of it, we can't manufacture and sell, but we will continue to design for somebody else who will manufacture and sell back to us. That is very important as far as innovation knowledge is concerned. The knowledge of fabrication is very important in innovation. Are you ready, Ravi?
I don't think they put the slides on, but let me start.
Okay.
Namaskar. First, my gratitude to Professor Agrawal, the management of MERI, the chair, and the distinguished guests to have invited me to make a dialogue on space. And then I was told the time limit is 10 minutes. For all of us sitting in the room would realize one thing, that we have one current sensation going on, a movie called Dhurandhar. And space technology is like a dhurinder. It's a very vast subject. How to keep that in 10 minutes itself is a challenge, especially when General Pannu and Anurag, they talked about some mouth fresheners. But the question is, after the mouth fresheners, I see most of people sleeping. So my activity also is to ensure that people are awake, right? So in terms of what I'm it's in my listening.
लाइव ही चल रहा है सुबह 9:20 पे फिर लाइव करते हैं
So there's some technical hitch. I think that also defines how space works, because space is a subject. I mean, when we think of how it started, when I was in college, I was told on every subject, on anything, I made a mistake. आप ये बात नहीं समझते कि rocket science है. I think only when I joined the space technology, I realized that what was told to me is what it is. Space is a very complex, vast, and an evolving subject. Because in the beginning, how the space started, it started with the state administrations controlling their national programs, controlling the weather forecast, controlling the agenda, which navigation, surveillance. But I think that was the beginning. And if some people would know, and especially for the students know in particular, the first rocket which India launched was carried on the bicycle. And from there, where we have come, it's a big thing, because from the national agenda to the commercial agenda to the geopolitical agenda, I think space has definitely come out to be a national frontier, or the fourth frontier, in which it will play a very important part in the days ahead. We just spoke about, because I want to keep it very simple. I want to tell the students in particular what are the technologies that are available, what are they supposed to be doing, and what is the motive, what's the objective. And in my understanding, if the why is clear, how becomes easy. All my slides today are basically dependent upon why. Why are we doing this? And if why becomes clearer, how will it become easy? It's going to be simple slides. And second part, beyond the slides, how BRICS and India can collaborate. And number three, now since I also represent SIA, how can SIA help you people collaborate, come together, where we can make not only space as a success, but for the national noble interest. Do you have a slide there? Okay. So let me just then carry on.
कब की इंटरेस्ट आज की करें
Sir, I have been a part of electronic industry in telecom, and I was told telecom is a kickstart. Space is no different. So just giving it a kick. I hope you not take this in 10 minutes.
Abhishek Kumar Singh, sir.
But I just expect that this session is going to be more interactive. I don't want to make a monologue, because since I'm going to keep it simple on the basics, so that once the basics are clear, the next stage or next program when we hold, we'll go into the more complexities, how it's done, why it is done. But at this moment, all simple things. Done?
Oh, okay, so we'll innovate. What I'll do is I'll go into conversation with Ravi.
Okay.
The moment first slide comes and we can change over. Ravi, tell me, what are the segments in space, loosely, when you talk about this segment, that segment? What are these segments in space?
So space basically is divided into 3 orbits in per se. Okay. Now these orbits are, first was geostationary, which is at 36,000 kilometers from the ground. Now that was a part which had high latency, and the visible point is when you look at the broadcast, all the satellites based at 36,000 kilometers has 650 to 750 milliseconds of latency. So you will always see when the anchor speaks and the response the speaker gives, there's a lapse. Okay. So that's one part which is controlled by the state administration. But then with the invention of the broadcast coming in, I think broadcast has played a major role for the privatization. Let me put it this way. First, to come to your question. So besides the geostationary, then we have right from 8,000 kilometers to 20,000 kilometers from the Earth, called a medium Earth orbit. The GPS technology basically is based there. And then where the success has come today, and everybody's talking about the various companies doing a lot of business, is the lower Earth orbit, which starts from 500 kilometers and goes up to 8,000 kilometers. These are the 3 orbits where most of the satellites are there. And besides this, you want to hear this one or something more in this one?
Okay, now that you're talking about these LEO, MEO, GEO, Ravi has a darling called the MEO. It means that he loves the medium Earth orbit. I want to ask him, why does he love MEO so much?
So let's first go through the history. Okay.
Sorry, you want to ask something? Or
I can do one thing, and I can read from this, and then we can go into question answers. So that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, firstly, I'll come to the. You want to ask some question now? Okay.
He was talking about the GPS is largely in the medium Earth orbit. But the moment you throw a satellite in the medium Earth orbit, it goes around the globe. So it becomes global. So what India did was that we selected a different technology, that we went and selected some mixture of geosynchronous and geostationary combined, so that those satellites remain visible to us all through, so they become regional. But within less satellites, we can do the same work. That number of satellites would be used to go into the medium Earth orbit. Medium Earth orbit, these satellites will not be static. They'll just keep going around and around. So in the regional system, IRNSS, which is also called NAVIC, we started with 11 satellites, came down to 7 satellites, functional 4 satellites. We were to replace 1 satellite. It did not go into the orbit a couple of months back. It has gone into a very different orbit. So some amount of signals are available, but they are not what we wanted. So as a result, the 11 satellite constellation in the geostationary configuration has not worked because we do not have as many satellites as they were supposed to be. So as a result, today we are dependent on the other constellation of other countries. We have GPS in any case as the mainstay for the entire world. But we have different Eurostar, GLONASS, which are available to us. Baidu is a system with China, but Pakistan uses it, we don't. So as a result, we are dependent on somebody else, but we also are dependent on GNSS, but it is not the entire system which is available to us. So operationally, we are still challenged, but I think year on year, we have plans to launch more and more satellites, and ultimately now some of them would be in MEO. So there will be a large number of triangulation which will happen for giving us that kind of accuracy that we're looking for. I hope it answers the question. Okay, thank you. You have to shift the orbit.
Sorry for this hiccup. I think I'll try and cover as much as things in simplicity because it's the first interaction that's happening between MERI and the space. If I go into the complexities, I think we'll lose a subject and lose a discussion. Can you put this slide? Next. See, this particular slide talks about how the space sector has grown. I've already covered in my earlier statement that how the space technology started. Now look at how it's growing. Look at the world market. The world market today is at 286 billion in 2022, and it plans to go up to 1 trillion by 2040. So you can imagine the concentration that's happening in the overall industry. And if you compare that with globe versus India, because India still is a new concept, but at the globe, if I take the CAGR in particular, which is about 8.1%, and started at 2022 at 286 billion, it goes to 673 billion. When you compare that to India, we are at 8.4 billion in 2022. We plan to go to 44 billion alone. But look at that figure, 16% CAGR. Now, where is this quoted from? India has large numbers of startups that has come up. India has grasped or embraced what is required in technology. Small units, we go to Bangalore area, you find that what people could not do for years together, the small startups are doing everything for us. Next. I'm from that part. No, doesn't launch. The money part? Yes. Yeah. Now, this slide talks about where are we focusing. Okay. We are focusing basically when you talk about SATCOM. Okay. That's where the innovation first started. We're talking about the broadband. There was a discussion some time ago when it was told that Elon Musk wants to introduce the direct to mobile communications. I think the whole world, the whole satellite world, started with this concept to provide broadband on through satellites because getting the satellites, getting the optical fiber onto the ground was a large task. With the innovation of the various technologies coming in, 5G coming in, the DTH coming in, there was a requirement to provide high-speed bandwidth. That's where the space technology came in, right? It started from the broadband alone. Now, what are we thinking? We're thinking about taking the data centers to the space, thinking about putting up the lab research for the medicines in space. That's where the migration has happened. But definitely the broadband makes the first beginning of the satellites. followed by the navigation, the question which you asked. We are trying something into the Earth observation. Satellites. We're launching small satellites, right? And India has become very popular, Israel has become very popular in ensuring the faster turnaround for throwing satellites into the orbit. Launch vehicles. That is where every country in the world today is dependent on India to come and launch their satellites to our launch vehicles. Ground network. See, any technology, especially satellites in particular, cannot support unless and until you have the ground network supporting it. It could be in the form of earth stations, it could be in the form of the ground terminals, right? And recently, the government of India has also announced sharing of infrastructure where the ground network will be shared passively and will be run as a ground station as a service. Then the space domain is the part which is a new flavor of the day. Next. So this is what I was saying. Where did the innovation start from? It started basically was from the basic satellites, then the high speed came in, and then since the satellites have to be turned on faster, to build the satellites, since it's highly regulated, it takes lots and lots of time. That's the reason where most of the concentration of people happened in the VO, where the constellations came up. It gave the high-speed satellites throughput. The turnaround was faster, the cost is less, and then it can provide a good bandwidth. Next. I think we can cover this part already. We can go next. So this is what in the beginning I was saying. These are three bands on the left side in which the whole satellite world is working. What is happening today, and I think it's critical for the students to know, that everybody would have heard of some names here. For example, Eutelsat or OneWeb or Starlink, which is Elon Musk. Then you have Reliance Geo. Okay. Now the first two, Eutelsat, Starlink, they are into the LEO orbit, in the low Earth orbit. Geo is the only organization as of today who are in the medium Earth orbit along with SES. The company I represent, Mathera, we are also into the medium Earth orbit, and we have formed the company here. I am the managing director. We're going through the licensing process, and soon you'll see our satellites also coming up. And then Amazon, which is AWS, they also are into the lower Earth orbit, awaiting clearances from the government. So these are some kind of okay, next. Bharti Mittal, that's right. Sir, I do not know really, because the curse today is what you have a feeling, what the Britishers was have a same feeling. Because Bharti got OneWeb at price, right? Then Bharti played a good trick. He sold himself to Eutelsat. Yes. So OneWeb, the brand name remains, but it's controlled by Eutelsat. But now, of course, Bharti has 18% share in Eutelsat. So you can say it's an Indian representation.
97185?
Yes, that's right.
71003.
Well, for a businessman, this is the opportunity. Sir, see, the question is, if you are ahead of the curve, then things can go haywire. Okay. So this shows the progression of where we started from and where we are, right? Our action started way back in 2018 when the satellite broadband concept was thought of. And today, we are in 2025. I'm not covering the whole year-by-year progression. It's all the slides you can share, can be shared later. The question here is, what became important in the satellite world? That is where you'll see, after reforms, you'll see the KU band was first given to the private operators to give DTH. That arose the needs of the broadband, and then the KA band started and the base band started. Next. Now, these are the bands in which we all are operating. Okay. The spectrum allocation, as I said, becomes a very, very critical part in terms of the space technology as such. There are various bands, LNS band, which runs in 1 to 4 gigahertz, the FC band, which is 3.7 to 4.2. Then you have a KU band in which the high throughput satellites, the DTH is functioning. Now, the KA band is coming for the broadband. And then we have UNV, which is the future. Okay. Next. Now, this is where things become important. I've just covered what the satellite system today is. I've not gone through the complications. I just mentioned what we are doing. Okay. Now, where we and BRICS nation can collaborate. So the first line itself says, the BRICS nations collectively offer complementary strengths across technology development, manufacturing capability, and diverse market access. Now, where did it come from? First part, I think Anurag was saying that we have BRICS as a whole covered 35% of the world market. The issue is, one advantage we have in all the BRIC nations, you have lots and lots of unserved connectivity markets, which could be both in terms of rural broadband, maritime, aviation, disaster resilience. Now, the problem with the satellite is the spectrum. Spectrum creates a lot of coordination. It's a very coordinated network. Because of its wireless, you have to coordinate, otherwise, you know what happens in a pre-Wi-Fi. So people want to prevent this going to this, into many problems. Infrastructure, partnerships, constellation partnerships which India can offer, because I, for one, can talk about my own company. I'm not selling myself, but we are here and we want to be a true Indian company. We really want to set up under the Bharat Atmanirbhar program, under the guidance of the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, and we are there to sit with the various people, including BRICS nation. What are their requirements? What are their specific country requirements? We all can sit together, design, develop, and launch from India. Of course, some time ago, there was a question of the financing. Satellite is a very costly, capital-intensive market. It requires a lot of money, There are people, there are some foreign direct investments that have come in, but not to the extent where the investments are to the extent where we feel happy. I think that is where the BRICS nations or the BRICS Bank can support us. Next. So as I said, what are the key challenges? Spectrum. Satcom licensing, it's a long process. The government says 3 months from date of filing, but I think it takes 3 years for filing. So the process, the clarifications, the domain knowledge, it takes much longer. I'm not saying anything wrong, but you can. Spectrum allocation, it takes a lot of time, infrastructure, because as I said, satellite is a world which is evolving. The issue is technology is new, The people who are doing it is new. So there's a lot of dependency, still dependency upon the foreign operators. The knowledge base is there. That's where we sat with Professor Agarwal as an SI and MERI. We thought the skill set is required in India so that we can develop the skill sets here, which is the last one, the workforce, the skill deficit. It's a huge one. Next. Way forward, which has been covered already, but I'm saying the policy to execute could be discussed. The multi-orbit ecosystem, which country requires which band, we can do that. Spectrum protection, the industrial and startup depth, because we have a lot of startups there, And last one, which is the most important one, that BRICS can become a multiplier to the world. We can provide all those aspirations, the future programs of technology which the world is looking for can be given by the BRIC nations. Next. Okay, now as far as what is concerned, which I said a simple talk about satellites has been covered. Okay, I will go through the Q&A once every presenter has given their presentation. But I want to mention which the other hat which I wear as the director of SIA. SIA is a non-profitable Satcom Industry Association formed by us 4 years ago. We are a bridge between the satellite operators and the industry. We cover not only the operators part, we cover each sector of it. Could be manufacturing, could be development, could be R&D. Everything is covered by us. And already we have present in 30 countries, people are partners. And there are more than 50 MOUs we have signed, including one with MERI. Next. So this is all what we do in SIA, and I would request all the big nations, in case we can have a dialogue with them, we can come to some understanding, and so we can build not only Atmanirbhar, but we can build for a national noble cause in which satellites will play an important part. Thank you, Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Ravi. Please, there was a latency in loading the slide, but I think they've well understood latency. Professor Dwivedi constantly is looking at his watch and looking at us, and the questions which were asked in between, I suppose I will minus that from the overall kitty of questions later on. I will very quickly go to Mini. Maybe she'll make a mini presentation, but she has a presentation. Mini, please take us through the human security through cyber safety.
So I'm Lakshmi Mini, and Mini is my mother's name. Thank you, sir. So good afternoon, respected ambassadors, distinguished diplomats, esteemed participants, and everybody here. Our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji had clearly said that cyber security is an integral part of national security. So today, as India chairs the BRICS, so I'm here to add a vital layer of truth to it. That is cyber security for human security. I request you to please load the slides. So my slide, it has a very simple question. Okay, what do you think is an industry that is growing 80% every year globally? What is it? Next. Without fail. Anybody who thinks it's artificial intelligence or GDP or internet, free to raise your hand. Yes, those are the things that we expect, sir. But the answer is a bit harsh. It's cybercrime. And it is something that is growing at a very fast pace. Instead of aiding the economy, it is draining it. It is not helping the people. So next. So somebody was mentioning the GDP of all the BRICS countries together. You can see the forecast here. 2026, 11.9 trillion. If cybercrime is, considered as a country, it would be the fastest growing one. And it is not going to help any other countries, but it is going to destroy the other countries. And it is bigger than China's GDP. And the growth is exponential, it's not linear. Next. So I've mentioned 11.9 trillion, the amount that is lost globally. But do you know what is the digital impunity here? What is the percentage that is there to punish or penalize the cyber frauds? Any guesses? I won't take much time here. It's 0.05%. So 99.95% chances are there that the cyber fraud will walk free. And this is why this crime is growing. Next. We are so focused on firewalls and other big things that we forget to actually go through it and find the actual thing that is getting affected. That's the human brain, the human mind. Next. There's a behavioral war. Definitely, the time that we all had, our childhood or our college time, it's totally different these days. I can even tell you, be it any professional, be it any confident person, when cybercrime is something they're affected with, they break down. And people are scared to go and seek help. The complaints that are filed is also actually very less. People want help, but they are being ignored. They're not actually being ignored. They're thought as, human being failure. But we have to consider another aspect here. They are harmed citizens. So we need to work towards that. Like I said, there are AI scams and digital addictions. And let me tell you, we deal with cyber victims on a daily basis. And what bothers me the most is when I took session for children. And trust me, the question that I got from children were, ma'am, somebody's asking for my photo in Discord. Can you believe class 4 student was asking me this question? And they are just becoming digital zombies. And can we even spend some time without these devices and think children are also watching us and growing day by day? And if this is the situation, what would our country turn out to be? Not just our country, globally. This is being faced by children across the world. And I was interviewed by Deakin University, Australia, about cyberbullying. And there was a recent update there that the age restrictions were, changed. But a larger aspect, I think all the countries and BRICS united, we need to take a stand in this regard as well. Next. So the numbers are there. We are counting the number of firewalls that are installed. But what about the number of people who are getting affected? Is there a credible number in this regard? No. And digital arrest scam, let me show you some very interesting picture as well. Next. Loan app fraud. While we are talking here, while you're listening to me, somebody will be actually being a victim of loan app fraud where very bad, vulgar messages about them will be shared across to their network. So we're talking about high level here, and what I'm doing is I'm dissecting and taking you all to the reality, the ground reality, which can happen to anybody sitting here. And the human element is what we're discussing today. So next. I cannot read the sentences that are written here, but trust me, if this happens to anybody sitting here, it just takes some time for us to break down. That is how the human psychology is wired. Next. Sextortion, again, this can happen to anybody, and the victims who came, there were many suicidal, there were suicides that were committed as well. Next. Impersonation, again, college students, they are not even aware that they are cyberbullied or some account of theirs are created online. And we humans, to keep in pace with this modern world, we just go on inventing. I'm here, I know we are supposed to discuss the good part of the technology, which is definitely good, but we should also be aware of the perils of technology. And we should consider the humanity first aspect. That is the aspect BRICS is actually following this year, shared by India. Next. Social media hacking again. Next. Digital arrest. Now you might be wondering how come people will fall to something called as digital arrest. Okay, trust me, I think Pannu sir might also remember, there was a vice chancellor of a university who was sitting in his bedroom thinking that he was digitally arrested. If this is what they get to see in the video call, don't you think that this can happen? Anybody can believe this. And the arrest warrant looks very real as well. This is actually shared by a cyber victim with us. Next. Naresh Goyal scam. Okay, people tend to believe because at one point we break down and this can happen to anybody. Next. Phishing APKs, very common. technology, good, but clicking on APK can make anybody cyber victim. Next. So we have got very good platforms here in India. I don't know how many of you are aware of the platforms like cybercrime.gov.in 1930. Next. Next. The Sanchar Sathi, and all these facilities are there. That is exactly why India has come here in the tier 1. Next. So it has achieved the tier 1 status, and it's a role model country with 98.49%. And next. But there is a legal vacuum, trust me. When it comes to the international perspective, the enforceability or the legal binding factor is where we all crumble. And next. So here we propose, since we are chairing the BRICS this year, so we propose innovation pillars here. The first one is cyber rehabilitation. You have got rehabilitation facilities for alcoholics, for drug addicts, but what about cyber victims? We need a rehabilitation facility across the BRICS countries, and let BRICS be an example. Let it lead by example, and let it be globally adopted. Next. Next innovation pillar is space cyber law. We have heard of space law, or maybe, cyber law, I think IT acts in India, but we need something, an intersection between space, cyber, and, the law. So I think the experts here can think about it. This is what we are proposing. We need something, because if there is, some interference, a cyber interference, it must be treated very seriously. But there is nothing to penalize them. So we need to think about it right now itself. Next. And the third innovation pillar is a unified BRICS cyber response framework. We have a response framework right now here in India, but let me tell you, when it comes to bitcoins or other kind of cyber frauds, which happens, and there is no jurisdiction. Let me tell you, cybercrime doesn't have borders, but jurisdiction does. And we need to find a solution for this. And maybe BRICS countries together can think about it and come up with an interoperable helpline and a financial response team as well. Next. And another thing that I'm proposing here is a cyberspace, international cyberspace law. Next, which is a triad, I would call it. It is an intersection of international law, IT laws, and human rights. Very much needed. Next. See, we have got many existing frameworks. In fact, I think Russia also did a great job in 2025, and we've got the starting one in 2001, Budapest Convention and Hanoi. All these things are there, but next. They lack something here. There's no binding global cyber treaty as such, which is accepted by all the power. When there is binding, all the countries don't come together. So we need to have a permanent joint cyber command, I would call, or 24/7 coordination centers. And there is no structured BRICS Asian institutional linkage. So this is what we propose as innovation pillars, because rightly our topic is technology and innovation. Next. So just remember, I told 11.9 trillion, but let me tell you, break it down to second calculation, that is $377,000 per second. The economy is being, dragged back. The money is being lost. And it is time for us all to wake up. And also remember, by 2030, the number of, the ratio of connected device to the human being will be 3:1. Where are we going? It's the right time to think about it. And that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lakshmi. This was all about personal security as far as cyber is concerned. Let me also tell you that as far as space is concerned, there is a huge amount of cyber dimension to it, but we are not covering this because of paucity of time. We are now straightway going to Sri Shakya, who is from the Department of Telecommunications. Well, he's serving as part of the government. You may like to ask him certain policy things if the time permits. But I would not stand between him and his discourse. Shri Sakya, please deliver your speech.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon to all the distinguished co-panelists here. The most valuable asset of the country, the students here, and the guiding force which is available on the SOFA layer 1 and 2. In fact, I am privileged to be part of a sabha, if you call in Hindi. Say, normally the Indra is supposed to take care of, right? देवताओं की सभा होती है, उसको जो है इंद्र सभापति होते हैं, और हमारे साथ में तो परमिंदर जी हैं, तो वो तो इंद्र से भी परम है, तो हम उनकी सभा में उपस्थित हैं। दूसरे साथी नाम में रवि है, उन्होंने बहुत बढ़िया से आपको आलोकित किया है, और लक्ष्मी का प्रेजेंटेशन आपने देखा है। लक्ष्मी में जितनी ताकत होती है in terms of everything, that is what she has shown to all of you. We will come back. I think I have a little different role to play here. Primary, due to two reasons. You all are from the industry, and I'm representing the other side of the industry, that is the government. Let me come back straight away from some of the questions led by my friend Ravi, and then some questions posed by Ms. Lakshmi. Right. So first thing is satellite spectrum. People talk, and they thought that there's a requirement of many things therein. So many of you may be knowing, and others may not be knowing, the work relating to the what frequency spectrum should go for what kind of the services is determined by the Bureau of Communications. We call it BR, part of the International Telecommunication Union, where I had served as the senior advisor. Now, you heard from my friend, you have the three different layers. So the geostationary, the medium Earth orbit, then the low Earth orbit. Geo Earth orbit, you know, being the higher distance, you can see 120 degree of slot can be seen. So three satellites are adequate to take care of the entire globe. And the location, as General Pannu said, it is, if you have in the synchronous, John, probability, the movement of your revolving of the Earth location, and the satellite would be synchronized in such a manner all the time the satellite is able to see you. Right? Now, at what height which satellite has to go, who determines? So that determination is done by the ITU. Any company globally can approach the respective nation. In the ITU terminology, we call it the administration. So any of the Indian company wants to launch any satellite, they have to file the requirements to have the allotment of the orbit. So orbit allotment will be taken place after the due filing by the Indian administrations. So my friend had the issues with respect to the delays. The concern in that is, as you understand, if I speak loud, and all three speakers also speak loud, what is going to have? We are going to have the interference. That is the technical term, or the chaos. So if I have too many satellites in the orbits, and the frequency signal passes from one to another and they interfere, probably the entire cost, what you had invested on the satellite, is going to be useless. So there has to be a proper coordination. So the coordination is assigned to the ITU, wherein if suppose India wants to launch a satellite, and if it is going to cover in the low Earth orbit, say the 7 countries or the 10 countries, the coordination is normally getting done with all those countries. So their plans of the satellites do not get impacted. The frequency is allocated to them, and there should not be any collision in the height as well. Right? That is one requirement. Now, the prevailing issue, which I think all of us is supposed to know, we are very happy to listen that the latency goes very down once it comes to the low Earth orbit satellites. And I'm very happy to share with you. In fact, nowadays you can have your satellite phone on the same phone. There is no requirement to have the separate handset to receive the satellites. So that kind of the miniaturization or the innovation has taken place in the world, and that can help you out totally. But the problem is, what you would have heard, Mr. Elon Musk is going to launch 10,000 satellites in the LEO. OneWeb already have 648 about, satellites in the low Earth orbit. If you add SES, the coming plans, probably we may have hundreds of thousands of the satellites in the low Earth orbit. And the Earth orbit starts lower one from where? Starting almost from 150 kilometers to say 500 kilometers at the most. So what is going to happen in terms of the debris? Because the life of every satellite is limited. Who is going to take care of that debris? Or do we need those many satellites? Are we going to have the, say, applied only for the purpose of competition or making the money? Or do we have the humanity into the center? I think that is the biggest question today in the satellite industry. Of course, I agree. Rocket science is complex, and we put the entire space that is further complex. That is understood. But having said that it's a complex technology, all the big houses are putting their money in the satellites. It's very difficult to imagine the world with thousands of the satellites in the lower Earth orbit, and the money which has already been put in this, the middle Earth orbit or into the, say, the geostationary orbit. These satellites at the LEO level may have even the interference to the MEA, mid-Earth orbit, or to the geosynchronous orbit. So that is a big concern. ITU definitely working therein. India being the responsible member there too. We are contributing our level best. And it is all the technologies, the innovations which are going to take here. So that is the one aspect I wanted to make clear. I would also like to make a request to Mr. Ravi. In case, like he has shown the LEO working in India, allocation for the KA 26.5, kindly corrected, millimeter wave in India is allowed for the satellite only from the 27.5, right, gigahertz. So please take note of that, because what happens if somebody is designing the satellite, and if he designed, say, his transmitters or receivers at the level of 26.5, so then the entire 26.5 to 27.5 is going to lose. Okay. So that is with respect to the spectrum requirements. Per se, another consideration is that does the Indian government takes too much time in allocating the spectrum? Answer is no. Right? Some of you may be very unhappy to listen, or some may be very happy, because my experience do not match what statement I am giving. The reason is, once you go for the satellites in the low Earth orbit, even on the upper orbits, the major concern is, since handsets kind of equipments are available in the user's end, it gets connected at just 200 kilometers of the height. Large number of the satellites are passing over my country. If the proper care in terms of security is not taken, we are going to land into the deep trouble. So there is a requirement of the coordination between the Ministry of External Affairs, between the Ministry of the Home Affairs, and what was consideration there? One, can the operators, whether it's a OneWeb or the say SpaceX or the others, ensure that if a user is enrolled in India, its data will not go outside of the country. Number two, his data will not be used or misused even on the demand of the other operators. Because in case of warfare, it shall not happen that the location of my all strategic places is passed on using the satellite. So I have to have care therein. Third thing is, it shall not happen that the unauthorized or unenrolled satellite phones are used in the entire country. So the handsets are being used by the enemical entities than the actual real customer. So those kind of the setups are there, wherein the discussions are going on. There are certain security features required by your lawful interception agencies, law enforcement agencies, and I'm sure once that gets settled, it will happen. As far as licenses is concerned, I think in principle clearance we already gave to the OneWeb, we gave to the SpaceX as well. But the concern is unless the security needs are met and the environment wherein you are, you will appreciate the efforts of the country, and you can very well wait little more to be safer than landing into the troubles. That is what I wanted to say on the part of the allocation of the licenses and the operationalization of the satellites. Then coming to the concerns with respect to the security, I'm fortunate. I had headed the telecom sector for over, I think, very long time, over 10, 15 years. And whatever the framework we've seen, if you find any flaws therein, I'm the culprit. I accept that part. The today's world is IT world, we know. And the biggest enabler and the disabler is only the IP address. IP address makes you to reach anywhere in the world, right? But at the same time, it enables my good friend also to do whatever he wants to do in my environment. Having IP address visible for making the connectivity all across the globe, yes, the vulnerability with the ICT network is very high. It is the reality of the day, right? The good thing what country has done in respect of care, I am sure as far as telecom operators are concerned, they have their own systems of the IPS, IDS, whatever you learn, the APT solutions. I'm not going there. And you also did not have much of the concern there. The concern is with respect to the citizen-centric issues. So as you already mentioned, the best part what government has come out is they created a national framework wherein anybody can launch its complaint. The lodging number is 1930. Kindly note it, pass it to all your friends. Then if you are sitting on the machine, please report it to the www.cybercrime.gov.in. Now, I'll tell you the advantage thereof. First thing is, if you are able to lodge your complaint, say within first 3 minutes, the probability of getting entire money refund is very high. I can say over 80%. The delay caused by you in reporting the case, you know how the culprits work. The money get transferred from one account, what you are sending to the one, but it further get divided into n into whatever the number is. So suppose 20 lakhs is passed, it may happen that it may get distributed to the 20 lakhs accounts. Now, investigating 20 lakhs accounts, working there, recovering it, it's a, you can say, Herculean task to our friends in the police as well. So that is one. But wonderful initiative taken, and I'm glad to share with you by the government of India. That is, we had linked the bank accounts, or the banks, I should say, Ministry of Home Affairs 1930, cybersecurity.gov.in portal, Sanchar Sathi portal. For what? If anybody is, or even the portal of the Indian Crime Bureau. So what happens there? If anybody is reporting this number is harassing me, this number is involved in cheating me, or this number has involved in taking money, impersonation, whatever cyber-related complaints you make, based on your complaint, we flag this complaint to the banks that if any transaction is going to happen to these culprits who had been reported by the normal users, kindly send an alert or an alert to the person who is making transaction to this party. So suppose I want to make a transaction even on UPI to anyone, and the person whom I'm making the transaction has been reported as the culprit earlier, once or twice, I will get the alert that kindly do not pass on the money further or do not go ahead with your transaction unless you know the person individually and you are 100% sure the person is genuine. So that makes a little, say, safety to you. If such complaints are little more than 2 or so, then we say this person whom you are making the transaction is frequent, fraudulent guy. Kindly think twice before making the transaction. But if it has been observed by our agencies, police and other people that this guy is really fraudster, we are instructing the banks not to allow transaction even you make the payment through UPI or any other channel. So that is the banking, or we say the FRI financial ranking indicators we are doing, DOT, MHA and the banks together, that will safeguard you. So probably the figure what you are seeing, 11.9 trillion, may not be that at all. And India, be sure, we all are there with you to take care of all kind of the financial frauds happening and taking care thereof. So that was on the security side.
Shakir Sahab,
Right. I will be summing up in 2 minutes with respect to the ICT. I thought being the government, let me try to reply that part. Now, coming to the journey of, say, BRICS in the ICT world, all of you know when the BRICS are started functioning, the communication track started in 2015. And the purpose was, as highlighted in the beginning or I should say the chair's address, that was how you can have the stability, strategic importance and innovation, because the economies and the sovereignties as on day or even in 2015 were digitally driven. Based on that concept, I'm again, I think, happy to share that 2016 Communication BRICS meeting was hosted, wherein I was also one of the hosts. And therein, the India came out with the concept of having the Digital Action Plan. Right? We called it ICT DAP. That was defining that what are the core areas, what is expected from the different countries in those areas. And then moving forward, we again initiated like having the institutional management. So in the communication field or in the ICT field, we already have BRICS Institute for Future Networks, wherein each member has declared its leading ICT innovator or the R&D center and the manufacturing together as their institute, and all of them are allowed to speak between them, organize talk on the literary work or the research work, and exchange staff as well. Then further, again, in the 2021, we hosted the second time the BRICS communications meeting. There we came out with the proposal of creating the digital public goods, which has been now renamed as the digital public infrastructure. The strength in BRICS is today, if you see in the satellite, 3 countries are there out of 5 which have the capability of satellite manufacturing, sending to orbits. If you look at the IT workforce, we are more than 80% of the entire globe in terms of the IT workforce available. If you look into innovation hubs, it's not, means we are always proud to have, say, more than 1,000 now unicorns and over 40,000 startups coming in few years. So that figure is wonderful. But if you put together the innovators in the other countries, that got much higher. So we have very high potential in terms of the collaboration, although sometimes due to ongoing bilateral issues, speed or the pace becomes issue. But being the multipolar and the multilateral entity, BRICS is very positively from the 2015 till now, and I'm sure it will further move on. Now, in the BRICS, there are 5 different verticals have been decided, wherein the study groups had been created. So one study group is working on the AI. Any one of you wants to join, they can join that. There is a study group working on the 6G innovations and the development of the use cases. There is a working group on the industry 4.0. There is a working group even on the agriculture side. So these are the communication related activities which are ongoing, and collaborations, I think, as the part of the country's think tank team, my request would be that whatever institutions created, now it's a time to deliver instead of having, say, mechanisms, discussions and all. And I'm sure that will be happen. I think with this, since time has passed, I would like to close here. And thank you. I'm available to all of you for this.
Shakir Saab, it was only the time, I think the value that you delivered was enormous. Since MERI has a Department of Space Studies, we are going to request you to come and spend a lot of time, and I think we will have a great benefit here from you. Can you please bring Anurag on the screen? Because we are running short of time, we have the next session also. But just in case there is a question, I think we are all there. We can take 2 questions at best, or should we just do without it? 2 questions. 2 questions. I see one man raising 2 hands, or okay, 1 hand. Please go ahead with your question.
Okay. Good afternoon. First of all, thank you very much to everyone in the panel for giving me the opportunity to ask a question. And also, thank you very much for such a great session today. So my first question is actually to Awasthi sir. So I think you have mentioned when you're actually discussing the points related to the collaboration to the BRICS. So you mentioned the point 6 related to the API can be used for the governance. So I want to know more about it. I mean, how an API can be used for the governance. Could you please put some light on that topic?
Okay. May I know your name, please?
Sir, I am Abhishek Roka.
Okay, Abhishek. Firstly, digital public infrastructure does not, it's a very big misnomer that it looks at only at fintech and financial transactions. Now, digital public infrastructure essentially covers the part of governance because it can go down into areas which are not served by a huge amount of populace, as well as the governance mechanism where you can use the digital public infrastructure. Now, this could be in terms of even looking at various compliances. This could be in terms of financial payments. This could be in terms even of polling. This could also be in terms of even, a livestock, as well as, various other utility management services. It could be in terms of looking at electricity and power management. It can be in terms of various backbone, services for telecom. So digital public infrastructure today, which rides either on internet or on local area network, can be used as part of the governance very effectively. Now, why I said this in BRICS is because there are areas in Brazil, there are areas in South Africa, there are areas in India which have been reignited and re-energized by this digital public infrastructure. So while in urban areas, you and I may think that, digital public infrastructure is only Paytm or it is Google Pay. Well, it has far-reaching consequences when you look at the rural and the, the even more interior parts of the hinterland. I hope I answer your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Anything else I can answer?
I think there are no more questions. Is that so? If there are no more questions, then can you please switch on? Oh, you have a question there. Okay. Oh, this is the last question. We are going to close after this because we can't just carry on. The space is a very vast subject. So,
Colonel, this is regarding your views on. First is you were talking about the GCC part. GCC, the recent budget has allocated 2,000 crores, and this government is going for inviting most of the Western companies over here. And so, how come India has to go and do the deal with the Chinese? Because it's a. Then second part is this NASA and ISRO. There is a synergy going on between these two agencies, and there are issues there because obviously there is all angle to the Chinese helping the Pakistan setting up helping with the satellite images and also other defense platforms which you are well aware of. So how can we go along with sort of prescriptive policies in the BRICS realm? Thank you.
I think first question, Anurag, you can answer. I think second question you could answer. Anurag, please go ahead.
Sir, I could not hear the first question by the gentleman. Sir, can you kindly repeat it? There's some issue with the audio.
Just hold your mic close.
Yeah, just let me repeat. This is, if we're talking about SMC Global, the chip company, and in Netherlands, Taiwan, and other players, and SMC has set up his shop in Bangalore. And in that case, how India has to go in this chip technology, of course, design is another part. This is second part is, I'm talking about GCC, Global Capability Centers, for which the budget has allocated 2,000 crores. And all American and European companies are coming over to India. That's the target. So in that case also, how you are going that this should be successful in the BRICS realm. BRICS arena. Thank you.
Could you get the question?
I got the question, sir. That's a very important question which you've answered. In fact, the entire establishment, including the government machinery, is trying to answer these two questions. The first part is when you're looking at global capacity centers, you're looking at data, which is going to be the very big, aspect of the global capacity centers. That is one. And the second is the exchange of data. Now, what is happening is that the global capability centers are going to be looking at two things. One is the digital sovereignty, and the second is the manpower, which basically runs this place. Now, insofar as BRICS is concerned, if you ask my personal opinion, it's a very personal view. When you look at the first part of it, insofar as the digital part is concerned, I think we will be quite dependent on a lot of other countries than the BRICS nations for a little while, till we finally develop something of our own, which is also in progress. There are some people who are doing it. As you just mentioned, there are some people in Mumbai also. There are some people in Chennai also who are doing all of that, which I would not like to name at this juncture. But the major part of your global capability centers today also run on a very, very talented workforce. So that is where I think we can right now fit in the bill in the present juncture for a little while, till such time the technology comes to some part of fruition or maturity, so that we are absolutely clear insofar as the technological part is concerned. I hope I answer your question. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
You want to say something, Mr. Shakya? Okay.
Hello. Haji.
Clear on the global stage, that is, trusted supply chain does have issues in the current environment, right? The availability of the semiconductors, starting from the rare minerals, chip design capabilities, fabs, everything is limited and under the control of few centers. Given the circumstances, India has understood the requirement very well, and having our position wherein most of the world still have very high faith in government of India or in the country as India. People are willing to cooperate, collaborate with register, irrespective which blocks individual companies are there. I don't want to go which company will support, which company will not support. So I do not find any reason having anything to do in terms of collaboration is coming from the Europe or coming from the US or coming from the Taiwan or from somewhere else. Because ultimately, our semiconductor plan or the vision is for the country and for the globe. And we do not have any sort of, feeling to have any sort of compromise therein. We are going to head with this, and the allocation has rightly been made in that direction. So the domestic companies can come forward, and wherever expertise we found, wherever the real partnership is coming, I think the Ministry of Electronics and IT is taking care well of that part. So that way we are sure in few years, very deliverable outputs known to all of you to witness. That is one part.
Thank you very much. Time being our master, we have actually transgressed it a lot. But maybe dialogue is the one which sets the standard of the depth that we can go into. It's a very vast subject, and I'm very happy and thankful to a team of very expert and eminent speakers who've been there on the panel. Thank you, Anurag. Thank you, Lakshmi. Thank you, Mr. Shakya, and my friend Ravi. You want to, while we walk out, you want to flash a slide? I'll be very happy if you do that. General Pannu, all the paper presenters, we are grateful for your thought-provoking presentations. And I'm sure that not only MERI CIS, MERI DIS, DSS, we are going to take it forward. Ladies and gentlemen, I must thank General Binod Khandare, former military advisor to National Security Advisor, Government of India, who is one of the members of the MERI CIS Advisory Committee, and along with General Pannu, the brain behind it, and to take this very important initiative. With these words, I request Professor Lalit Agrawalji, Vice President, MERI Group of Institution, to facilitate our presenters. First to Mr. Ravi Elavadi.
हाँ जी
May I now request Miss Lakshmi to please come to the desk.
नहीं किससे बात की थी किससे बात की थी आपने भी
Now to Sakya Saab, please.
जानते तो है वो नहीं जानते हैं क्या कहा था आपने आपने क्या बोला था
once again, the gratitude to each one of you for very thought-provoking presentations, and we look forward to continue this process of engagement, of fruitful discussions, and take it forward. Now, we have the last session, which is extremely important session focused on... Huh? Yeah, that's right. Obviously, then they will invite the others. Yeah, that's right. Please. We have the last session, which is focused on economic issues. What are the economic opportunity and challenges in BRICS members countries, and the possibilities of enhancing economic cooperation between the BRICS member countries and the Global South. This session is being chaired by Professor V.K. Jain, former Vice Chancellor Doon and Tejpur University. May I request sir to please come to the dais, and the paper presenter, Dr. Rajkumar Sharma, Mr. Anil Sharma, Professor Rakesh Khurana, and we have the voice perspective from press. So the representative of ANI is requested to please join us on the dais. Pandey Saab, please, the representative of ANI is here. Can we start the session, Professor Kalra? Okay, right. Oh, आनंद आ गया। अरे वाह। Full house, Preeti will be online. All 6 presentations. I think 3 to 5 presentations. All right. Thank you, everybody. Please just be seated. I request Professor V.K. Jain to chair this session. Sir, the floor is yours. Over to you.
Thank you, Professor Ramakant Dwivedi, Honorable Professor Lalit Agarwal, Professor Ramakant, distinguished resource persons, faculty members, industry representatives, and dear students. It's such an honor to be chairing this session where such luminaries with considerable expertise in their respective domains are here. So thank you, Professor Dwivedi, for giving me this opportunity to be part of this session. As you are all aware, that BRICS has emerged as a voice of the global South and is a force to reckon with in a very, very asymmetric world where the supply chain logistics have come under serious strain and have become susceptible to geopolitical tensions and disruptions and coercion, whatever you call it. And at a time when sustainable practices are supposed to be integrated in all aspects of a developing country like ours. It is here that the role of the BRICS becomes very, very crucial and important. Going by the evidence thus far, I think to the credit of BRICS, one must say that they are providing a very responsible leadership for a very resilient and sustainable future for the developing countries. A future where the growth is green, equitable, and just. And I would just single out three things before I hand over the session to the illustrious panelists. To my mind, the first important contribution of the BRICS is that they are at the forefront of this combat against climate change. If you look at their role in recent years, they have been providing leadership in the field of renewable energy, in the field of adaptation and mitigation strategies. So this is one area. Another very important initiative which they have taken is the establishment of this new development bank, which is supposed to provide funding for the green infrastructure, for developing the green infrastructure, not only in BRICS, but any emerging economy which want to avail the funding for developing the green infrastructure. The second point. The third, to my mind, is again a very important point, which I think earlier speakers have also spoken about. That is that they have become the centers of innovation in e-mobility, in digital infrastructure, and what have you. So I think if you look at their role in practically all aspects of development related to any country's progress, I would say that the BRICS is doing a wonderful job. And as I said in the beginning, in a very asymmetric world, it's important that you have a pressure group, a group of countries which can withstand the so responsible behavior from certain quarters in this world. So with these words, may I now request Mr. Bipin Bahu, the BRICS Member of Commerce, New Delhi, President SMEs and Startup. Mr. Bipin Babu, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Excellencies, and distinguished delegates, colleagues, and people on the dais. And most importantly, my favorite friends, students. Not long back, I was also part of that audience. So I would like to keep my talk quite. I'll try and keep it more relevant for my friends out there who are listening, and I might I might also deviate from the original topic and stick to what I exactly want to convey to you people, and most importantly, of course, I'll do the formalities first. So it's an honor. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be at MERI and at MERI Dialogue 6.0. And I think the BRICS challenges and opportunities is a very important topic to discuss about, especially in this particular year in 2026. Two reasons to it. One, India is the chair of BRICS. Second, India is also hosting probably the largest AI summit, which the world has ever seen and probably would see. And why did I specifically mention AI? It's also because I am part of that industry, and I see AI impacting in several ways, not just the world, but BRICS in specific, and most importantly, the life of our young students, young professionals, startups, founders, and so on and so forth. And I have prepared a speech which I will not again follow a lot, but I'll try and cover as many things as I intend to. Today, one thing that I want to focus on is a force that is kind of reshaping everything that we're discussing, and that is artificial intelligence. And I will connect the dots to BRICS, to the topic that we're talking about in terms of economy, in terms of supply chain, and why I'm touching on this as the most important force. It's because it is exactly the same as internet a few decades back, and hence it's going to rewire everything that we talk about in this session today and rewire the results. So the first important point which I want to emphasize on is that artificial intelligence today is becoming the nervous system, and the nervous system pertaining to this particular topic, it's becoming the nervous system of the supply chain. How? So supply chains used to be about cost, and then it became about speed globally, not just BRICS. Now they are more about resilience, about trust, about sustainability, and reduced cost. Which means that AI is able to and will be able to turn supply chains into systems that can sense, that can predict, and that can act on our behalf. And when I say on our behalf, not just as individuals, also as countries. So AI is not just optimizing supply chains, it's helping supply chain anticipate reality, which is so important to understand, because a lot of trade would actually now be dependent on this and will get optimized because of this. Because this technology is able to enable predictive logistics to forecast demand shocks and port congestions, smart procurement to detect supplier risks, not just across BRICS, but across the world, quality and traceability to reduce counterfeit and substandard goods, custom and trade flows to reduce delays using super intelligent automation. So in the next decade, the fastest supply chain won't win. The most trusted ones will. And why I'm making this point again and again is because I see students who kind of deal with artificial intelligence today only from a point of using ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude, etc., etc. I want you people to look into the larger aspect of it. The larger aspect of it in front, also in terms of your careers. I'll try and put some points together towards the end of my talk, where we talk about a little bit around careers specific to economy, supply chain, but driven by artificial intelligence. Second point that I want to emphasize on is is sustainability, and sustainability needs measurement at scale. We can't talk about sustainability only within this room. And again, I will emphasize a role of artificial intelligence here, because AI actually makes measurement at scale possible. Sustainability will not be achieved by slogans. It will be achieved by measurements, by verifications, and by continuous improvement. And this is exactly where this technology comes in handy, because it's not people who are going to be focusing on continuous improvement here. It's going to be the system. And eventually the system will also become autonomous. And from a sustainability point of view, if I look at it from a larger perspective, even things like carbon emission, forecasting across transport and production will also be enabled with artificial intelligence, such as digital, products like, passports to prove origin of and compliance of products in the supply chain, the circular economy optimization to reduce waste and to, improve reuse. All of this is a lot of impact, by AI. So one of my mentors, used to always keep telling me that, even if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And if you can't verify it, you can't finance it. Hence, anything or everything that you're dealing with in terms of supply chain, economy, technology, sustainability has to be measurable, hence manageable, has to be verifiable, hence financeable. And now from on a third point, which I want to emphasize on, is the India story around it. So there is I'll try and keep it short. So from an India specific lesson, I think digital public infrastructure is what we have done best. If we talk about UPI, if we talk about Aadhaar, we have shown that how identity can be delivered at scale. We have shown how interoperability can be done. And this is exactly what probably BRICS needs to also take inspiration from India. So Aadhaar gave us identity, UPI gave us velocity. I think the next leap is, AI giving us resilience and trust for economic systems. From a BRICS specific point of view, I believe an AI-enabled trade corridor is something that, I envision being part of this industry as AI and also part of BRICS, especially, heading SMEs and startups. So one thing probably on the agenda that, this season, which I'm talking about during the BRICS summits, is BRICS Supply Chain Intelligence Exchange and interoperable standards for traceability and sustainability, a BRICS AI sandbox for logistics plus green supply chains. Because I believe BRICS can move from being a trade bloc to a trust bloc, and that is most important and significant at this point of time. Some practical, examples. I might take another, 30 more seconds. Some practical examples from a, BRICS nation point of view, and not just India. Yes, I am. My favorite word is Bharat. My favorite word is India. But I will also want to, talk about things which our nations in the BRICS are doing. For example, Brazil, is using the highest and the best of the technology, including artificial intelligence, for agri supply chain, so that they can forecast yield and optimize exports, which is an amazing thing to do. And I want all of you to also dive deep into it and understand from a career specifics. Indonesia, primarily a maritime economy, they are trying to supply or put AI to shipping route optimizations and port efficiency across the entire trade lanes. Our neighbor China has demonstrated how AI-driven manufacturing and logistics can kind of make them a leader. Our friend Russia has deep strength in engineering, energy, and industrial systems, where again AI is improving predictive maintenance and reliability across critical infrastructures. So why I'm saying this is specifically targeting the students, because I want you guys to go and probably dive deep into these points and aspects, and you will find so much of career opportunities, startup opportunities, trade opportunities in this field, especially in this year, especially in this era. and that's the reason which I'm putting this across again and again. I will close considering the paucity of time that the global south doesn't need AI or technology that looks impressive. It needs AI/technology that looks like regular progress. And if we all can kind of put together our efforts, our minds, our projects, our probably help of our teachers together, we will be the winners of this entire era. Thank you.
Thank you, Bipin Sahab. Cannot be funded. I think this is the message I think the young mind should take home from his presentation. Of course, he has elaborated on some of the applications in the context of maybe shipping and smart agriculture and so on. So thank you, Vipinji, for a wonderful presentation. Thank you. My next esteemed speaker is Dr. Raj Kumar Sharma, Senior Research Fellow, NET STRAT. Please.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Chair, for giving me this opportunity. My sincere thanks to Dr. Professor Ramakant Dwivedi and also Professor Lalit Agarwal for giving me this opportunity. I've been a participant in the previous dialogues at MERI as well. I'll be speaking about, I'm trying to make a sense of what is happening today. Because, when we speak, when we do anything, there is a thought process behind this, right? So I'm trying to tell you what is India's DNA in terms of why are we discussing BRICS, right? And the topic that I'm speaking on is strategic autonomy, India's strategic autonomy, and how BRICS becomes a symbol of India's strategic autonomy. Because strategic autonomy is kind of a DNA of India, our thought process. So, what is strategic autonomy? It's basically very simply, it's capability of a country to decide on its own matters, nothing else, right? Of course, there is no absolute strategic autonomy in the world until and unless you are Donald Trump. That is a different matter, right? Otherwise, most of the countries wouldn't have absolute strategic autonomy. And what is multilateralism? Multilateralism is a group of countries who are trying to achieve a common goal, right? So basically, if you see India's policy towards multilateralism, there are three phases. One, of course, is when we became independent. So from, say, 47 to 61, India was very idealistic. We would talk about non-alignment, idealism, third world solidarity. That was the first phase. And then from there on, you can say from 61 to 91, basically was the time when India made efforts to have parallel organizations to. We were part of non-alignment movement, G77, all this happened. And of course, today you see India being a country aligned. This is why you see India a member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, BRICS, Quad. So we are almost everywhere, right? And I'll prove this to you that we are in BRICS to maintain our strategic autonomy, right? So then let me just make a distinction between two more organizations and BRICS. One is BRICS and SCO, because these are two organizations where China is a member, right? In BRICS, we have more space to balance China because the agenda of BRICS is wider. SCO is an organization which is regional and security focused, right? And second point is the power within BRICS is diffused because there are too many members to balance China, but in SCO, you don't see too many members to balance China because it's only just one, which is Russia, right? So that way, BRICS facilitates better strategic autonomy for India. And just 2 points about, a comparison with NAM. Non-alignment movement, when NAM happened, India was not exactly a very, we were a third world country starting with 1947. Our GDP, we were looted by the British, so we were a very weak power. So our capability was not there to shape the world agenda, right? But in BRICS, we are substantially one of the big powers. We can do that. And of course, what brought NAM together was more about ideology, but there is no ideology in BRICS. This is all about common interest. Right? So these are two distinctions. And moving on, I'll just directly come to the point. how does BRICS facilitate India's strategic autonomy, right? And this happens mainly because 6 factors, right? First one is it helps India's efforts to achieve a global governance reform, right? We have been talking about that there should be a reform of UN Security Council, IMF, World Bank, right? By the way, within BRICS, there is no single thought process, right? Some members don't want a reform of UN Security Council, but for India, it becomes a platform through which we are always arguing that there has to be a reform. We keep this on the agenda of the global powers. So that is point number 1. Second, of course, India's identity as a non-Western country. Mind you, we are not an anti-Western country, right? Since morning, all the technocrats have been telling you that in terms of technology, Indian economy is embedded in the West, right? But India's defense industry is embedded with Russia. You see the distinctions, right? So that is what I'm trying to tell you. We are not an anti-Western country. We are a non-Western country. And within BRICS, you have countries like India, Russia, China, who also claim to be civilizational states, right? Civilizational states have ancient origin. There is a continuity. So that is also one of the ways to say that India does maintain its strategic autonomy. Of course, the third point is we have highlighted New Development Bank a number of times. It is an alternate financing mechanism for India because, whenever you take funding from World Bank or IMF, they always put conditions or restrictions, right? NDB doesn't do it. And, NDB has given loans to the effect of 10 billion to India to finance almost 28 major projects. And I'll name some of them. One of them is Namo Bharat high-speed trains. Another one is Metro Rail project in Mumbai, Indore and Chennai, and even Delhi, Ghaziabad, Meerut regional rapid transit system. So it is an alternate mechanism from where we can get financing. The fourth one, of course, is being a member of BRICS, India also is able to achieve multi-alignment. I told you we don't want a world which is unipolar or a bipolar. We want a lot of space around the world. So BRICS helps India to achieve multi-alignment. At the same time, it also facilitates India's, normative influence. Well, what I mean by normative influence is, we are there in the debates of global governance. Bibin was talking about artificial intelligence. It will also have laws. There have to be some rules and regulations. Global South rules and regulations, digital public infrastructure. So India is putting that agenda on the ground. And of course, the last point here is, India's own independent engagement with Russia and China. If you see, we have a lot of issues with China, but as Professor Kondapalli also pointed out in the morning, we don't bring those problems. Right, so we deal with Chinese in a setting, and if we find that the Chinese money can help us through NDB, why not? We can take the advantage. Similarly, with Russia, India has not condemned Russian actions in Ukraine, but mind you, we have not supported them as well. Right, so our position is quite simple. Diplomacy will resolve this issue. So without getting bogged down by these two veto power countries within BRICS, we facilitate a BRICS which is balanced, which is not dominated by China, neither by the Americans. Right. So coming to the conclusion part, because the session is about economics, there are 3-4 things BRICS countries can do to move forward in economics. We can have a unified position on the tariffs that have been to Trump. So that is one. Second, of course, is we can increase intra-BRICS trade to balance dependence on the US. Third would be reconfiguration of supply chains away from the US. And fourth would be lower barriers to intra-BRICS trade. This is what we can do. And, it is interesting. 3 years back, people were talking about, resilient supply chains away from China. Today, everybody is saying resilient supply chains away from the US. You see how fast the world is changing. We will have to be agile. We'll have to keep changing our belief of strategic autonomy. So just to conclude, let me give a kind of a Bollywood turn to this. I'll conclude with this. What do we want, right? So there are 3 types of people in the world. One is if you see American policies, what does Mr. Trump want today? Because he's a threat to BRICS, by the way. Okay, so he has three scenarios in mind. One is what you call in Hindi gundagardi, right? Unipolarity. Okay, he's doing it. The same country which constructed this global governance system is destroying it. It is not somebody from outside. It is the same country who made the system. So he wants a unipolarity. Does India want a unipolarity? The answer is no, right? Second would be, of course, Dadagiri, kind of a G2 arrangement between the Chinese and the Americans. Even we don't want that, right? And third one is the kind of, Bhaigiri, where you have Russia, China, and US, all three coming together in kind of a Yalta setup where they will take care of, it's called multipolarity with regional spheres of influence. So Europe is taken care of by the Russians, Northern Hemisphere, that side, the Americans, because Trump wants to throw away, the Danish from the Greenland, right? And the last, of course, is Asia, where India is. So you hand over Asia to the Chinese, even we don't want that, right? So India's position is that we want a strategic autonomy, a balanced world order in which we find some space to breathe and shape the events, right? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rajkumar. I think you have very nicely summed up, what is meant by strategic autonomy for India. Essentially, it is the ability for the country to make its own decisions and not get swayed by the pressure or any undue influence from any other quarters, whether they are from some of the rogue states in the world or whatever. But I think very nicely you have mentioned as to how India has moved from non-alignment to now a and through multilateralism to multi-alignment. I think that is the sum and substance of what you have mentioned, and how BRICS has delivered in terms of the mandate given to it, and how India is very deftly playing its role in BRICS, despite the fact that there are two, as you said, veto powers, China and Russia. So thank you, Dr. Rajkumar. I think very interesting presentation from your side. So may I now invite Professor Pvt Das, if she's online. Yeah, Professor Pvt Das, very good afternoon to you.
Very good afternoon, sir. It's so nice to see you again.
Yeah, same here. And so we are going to talk about civilizational states in a changing global order, India's emerging role in BRICS. And just on a personal note, Professor Pvt Das has been a very good friend of mine in JNU, and she's one of the finest scholars JNU has produced. So it will be a pleasure to listen to you, Pvt. Thank you. Please.
Thank you so much.
And you have about 10 minutes.
Sure, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, I would like to thank the organizers, Professor Rama Kanduvedi. This is my first time that I'm participating in here, but then this is the first time that I am participating and making a presentation in the session which is related to the economic development and all. Mine is, I do not know how it is going to be connected with the session themes, but I believe somewhere it is connected to what Dr. Raj presented, that is the civilizational states, but I'm only taking you a little in depth what the civilizational state is all about, how do we perceive that civilizational state, and why so much focus is being given by the Russian government to have this civilizational approach, and what is it that actually scares the Europe of this civilizational approach that Russia has adopted. So in fact, I always recall when I'm presenting on the society and culture thing, the quote that is of my supervisor in Soviet Union. She used to tell me that no international relations would work without culture. So it is something that the Russian approach possibly was there throughout. So the topic that I have taken here is the civilizational states in a changing global order and India's emerging role in BRICS, which actually examines the civilizational narratives and Russia's multipolarity and India's pragmatism. So if slide is there, so then you can change on the next slide. If not, then it's okay. So mainly that I have taken at the background that has taken the profound transformation that has taken, which has actually challenged the structure, the norms, the power structures that were there. So this is this civilizational states is a new alternative that goes, this is a framework that goes beyond the traditional nation state model and emphasizes the deep-rooted cultural, historical and civilizational identities as the base of states' legitimacy and strategic behavior. So among this shift, India's role within BRICS has become increasingly significant, And I'm also going to be touching upon the renewed relevance of this civilizational state that actually focuses on India's pragmatic adaptation of its identity and Russia's civilizational multipolarity. Especially, I'll be touching upon the Alexander Dugin's Eurasianist thought and its implication in the emerging global order. So let me first illustrate this Dugin's idea of civilizational integration, not through the abstract, but through the moments where his rhetoric reframed the political events as metaphysical reunification. So let's see this example of 2014, the merger assimilation, that is what is called Eurasian Spring Movement. After Crimea's annexation in 2014, Dugin publicly framed this event not as territorial expansion, but as civilizational reunification. And throughout his interviews and throughout his lectures, he described Crimea as a sacred space within the Eurasian civilization. So the significance is here that while many analysts discuss the geopolitics and the security dilemmas, Dugin talks about the same thing in metaphysical language, about destiny, about spiritual unity, and the historical continuity. So, in Dugin's framework, this integration is not about the borders, it is about the restoring civilizational wholeness. So this is where, when the time when it comes that the Western-led institutions and the norms are come under the scrutiny. So here, the global financial crisis, rise of China, rise of persistent geopolitical conflicts that have raised questions about the sustainability of the liberal international order. So in this context, alternative vision of global order that is rooted in the civilizational diversity and the regional autonomy, that multipolar world and order and so on and so forth that is talked about. So the civilizational state theory, the foundation of it it goes grounding the nation states by grounding the nation state and its legitimacy and enduring the cultural and historical traditions. So unlike nation state, where often the uniformity is sought by centralized authorities, civilizational state, that is what has already been mentioned by Dr. Raj, that embraces pluralism and its continuity with the past. So this approach actually recognizes the importance of historical narratives, philosophical traditions, and the societal values that actually shape the political identity. So Dugin's Eurasianism is an influential stand within this discourse that proposes that Russia and non-Western world powers should actually assert their unique civilizational identities to counterweight the Western universalism. So here, while he's arguing about this, again Dugin's point of view, where he claims that Russia is not Europe. So in 2000, he frequently delivered these lectures across these institutions and academic. And he quotes that the tragedy of the 90s, that is where we had the economic crisis leading towards the collapse of the Soviet Union. So he calls it a normal Europe. In order to become a normal European nation state, he is saying that the post-Soviet liberal reforms were the main cause of it. So it was kind of a self-denial, civilizational self-denial. That is what led to the collapse. And his national disintegration, as per him, the national disintegration occurs when a civilization adopts alien universalist model. So the focus is that one should have its own the values and the traditions. So therefore, integration requires rediscovering the civilizational identity, not simply improving governance. So there are two kind of strands. One is recognizing and recalling and again adopting that, and not only focusing what the Europe. In fact, Alexander Dugin had visited to Jawaharlal Nehru University, where he also tried to link the India's civilizational approach of present government, that why and how it is and why we are kind of becoming and emerging as a stronger nations, or maybe the global power, emerging global power. It is, and comparing it with the Ukraine, because where you are actually completely uprooted your national traditional identity and culture, which was not focused. So this is where the comparison was made during his presence. I will quickly kind of move towards some other arguments. So the Russian doctrine that has actually invoked the idea of civilizational multipolarity, which is influenced by the Eurasianist Dugin's policymakers idea. So that is, the global order should reflect the coexistence of multiple equal civilizational center. So this theory actually envisions the Eurasia as a distinct, the whole of Eurasia that unites Russia, Central Asia, and parts of Europe also, in opposition to the Atlanticists or the Western domination. So it is for him, it is kind of a liberal globalization is as a flattening force that actually erases the cultural depth, and otherwise the restoring the civilizational values and traditional this thing is kind of emphasizes and makes the roots much more stronger. So it is like civilizational integration is only perceived as a protection against the cultural dilution. So within BRICS, Russia advocates this pluralistic world order that is positioned as a grouping, as an institutional platform for the civilizational dialogue and the contestation. We are also part of the literature creation, the upcoming with the book, because right now it was also discussed in the BRICS platform in the last year in Russia, that we do have bilateral literature available, what was the agreement between individual Brazil, India, or China, India, or other countries. But then as a BRIC as a whole, somewhere there is a gap of literature, so that can be passed on to the next generation and all. So there is only thing I'll possibly, if not much time, I'll skip a few points that I had raised. I'll simply come to the conclusion, because ultimately at the base, Russian approach is somewhere kind of Indian approach I see as India's role in the BRICS is more pragmatic and pluralistic approach to this civilizational identity, whereas the Russian approach is advocacy for multipolarity, which is informed by the Eurasianist thought that actually reinforces the trend towards a more inclusive and contested global order. So as BRICS continues to evolve, the challenge would be to reconcile civilizational diversity within this imperative of cooperation and stability. It is easy said than done in the practice, because the civilizational approaches that we are talking about, each civilization is very powerful and has quite a few radical ideas that actually cooperation is not going to be, it is intended, but then how far in practice it would be applicable is still remains a big question. So thank you for your attention. I believe I have not taken more time than allotted.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Das, for a very enlightening presentation on your topic. What was that? Civilizational states in a changing global order. And very beautifully you have explained the role of the civilizational identity by giving an example in the case of India, how India has emerged as a global power in some sense. And you have also pointed out the challenge before BRICS, and that is how to reconcile the civilizational diversity within the BRICS group without diluting the basic mandate of the BRICS, which is to provide a very equitable and just progress or growth for the developing countries. So thank you, Professor Das, for a wonderful presentation. Thank you. May I now invite Shri Anil Sharma ji. He's an economist and former member of National Financial Reporting Authority, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India. And he's going to talk on interlinking of CBDCs of BRICS member countries, potential trade growth medium. Anil Sharma ji, please.
Thank you very much, Chairman Professor Jain, my dear fellow faculty, Professor Ramakant Dvedi ji, Ambassador Sharma, and my dear fellow students. First of all, let me thank MERI for giving me this opportunity to present my paper on this particular topic. Sir, as you rightly started with this narration that Global South is a force to reckon with. See, let us look at the initial stages when this Brent line was, imaginary line was created to bifurcate the countries which were rich and which were poor. Now look at the recent data, how Global South countries, which are 130 countries, and if you look at their data, that shows how the picture has really changed. The GDP of Global South on PPP mode is now 55% of the global GDP. And if we look at the population, it is almost 85% of the world population is in Global South. And similarly, if we look at the global trade data, it is 44% of the global trade is happening in Global South. So that shows how Global South is really is becoming a force to reckon with. Number of countries in Global South have their own economic diversities, which are their specialties. For example, if we take Africa and Latin America, they're almost 59 to 77% of their trade is resource export. And similarly, if you look at the East Asia countries, their industrial production has become their specialty. And they are also now supporting in a very big way the emerging value chains. So that shows the strength of Global South. And one another very important data which can be seen is that the merchant trade between South-South, it means within the South, Global South countries is now 57% of developing countries' export is going to other countries within the Global South. And that amount is almost like 6.8 trillion US dollars. So one can see the size, how economic activities are happening in Global South. Now, as I think pointed out by Dr. Raj Sharma also, that for their own interest to ensure to secure their economic interest, Global South has created a lot of groupings. BRICS is one of them. And there are some regional groupings also. And of course, we also see one grouping, which is the UN-based, which is South-South cooperation. But now let us look at within the Global South, look at how 11 countries which are part of BRICS Plus, what is their contribution to the, so if I just quote the similar data for these 11 BRIC Plus countries, so GDP, they are, see almost 40% of global GDP is coming from these 11 countries. Similarly, around 49.5% population, global population is from 11 BRICS countries. Similarly, the global trade, 76% of the global trade is emerging from these 11 countries. That shows the strength of BRIC countries within the Global South. Now, second point which comes up is that is there enough or is there any further scope for development, economic development within the Global South? Yes, there is a lot of scope and there is a lot of hope and a lot of, feasibility looks like that these economic activities can be enhanced. But the very important or very, I would say, glaring handicap or is the availability of dollar. Now, to understand that, we have to look at how this international monetary system works. So with this IMF, World Bank, where and then You see, dollar, which has been considered as the global currency, and the most of the global reserve is also is in the terms of global in the terms of US dollar only. So with the help of mechanism like SWIFT and CLIPS, what they have done, they have controlled the entire global trade. Almost more than 40% of the global trade is being invoiced in dollars at the moment. And there has been attempt to I won't use the word de-dollarization, but to look at some other alternatives, what other mechanisms can be developed so that the reliance on dollar can be reduced. So from that point of view, let us look at what BRICS has achieved. So as rightly pointed out, that this new development bank, as well as CRA, the contingency reserve assistance, though at the moment it has not been used, but almost $100 billion are lying in that, which is again a very gives a lot of confidence that something, if contingency happen for short-term liquidity, those that can be used. And the third thing is, which happened in BRICS conference in Kazan, where the BRICS cross-border payment initiative was launched, and it was thought that let the digital currencies, central bank digital currencies of BRIC countries should be interlinked, so that the payment can be payment for global trade can be made in their local currencies. So that idea, in fact, recently Reserve Bank of India has again sent this proposal to the government of India, that when this BRICS conference summit is happening in India, India should now propose again interlinking of CBDCs of BRIC member countries. And now let us look at whether this linking is going to create growth potential in global trade within the BRIC countries or within the global south. So first thing I would say that it has been seen that still a lot of BRIC countries have not yet come out with their full version of their CBDCs. Some of them are they have not yet started, and most of them are also on a pilot mode. Like China and India, I think they are the two countries whose CBDCs are in operation, and Indian CBDC is also now taking recognition, and there are a very large number of more than 5 million transactions has already happened in that. And of course, China is going ahead with a lot of efforts, and they are wherever they are doing the business, they are trying to promote their CBDC. See, from Indian point of view, since CBDC is not coming forward, or this interlinking is not coming forward very quickly, so India has done some more initiatives to ensure that their reliance on dollar comes down. And those, maybe I can point out three important developments. One is the rupee payment. Now, Reserve Bank of India has allowed 22 countries to set up their special Vostro account in India, so that their payments can be negotiated and settled in Indian rupee. The second is of course the UPI. Now our Prime Minister is also promoting UPI in a very big way, and it has been shown that with the help of UPI, a lot of foreign currency requirement of people, especially those who are moving for businesses, for travel, for business, for pleasure travels, those, at least that can be reduced. And finally, if you look at some of the recent free trade agreements which Government of India has entered into, in most of them, there is a payment settlement of trade in Indian rupee or in local currencies. So these are very good developments, and would definitely, at least from India point of view, they would be helpful in reducing India's demand for dollar. Now, coming to the conclusion part of my paper, I would say that BRIC countries have a different approach for de-dollarization their economy and reduce their reliance on dollar. Some of them have also experimented with the blockchain-based payment system, again, which was not very successful. But it looks like that appetite for interlinking BRICS CBDCs is not there with the other BRIC countries. So maybe there are 2-3 more reasons. One is the threat from US. I mean, we have seen Trump giving a very clear-cut warning that if you try to touch our SWIFT and any dollar requirement, then we would be putting tariffs on them. Then second is countries like China, where most of their surplus is placed in US debt securities. That is, again, China is also not taking very major initiative, though he's in a position to do that, only because of this reason that very large sum of his savings are tied up in US, and they fear that if they take, there may be some coercive action from American point of view. So, and in fact, I would like to highlight there is one very recent JP Morgan report in 2025 November. They have published a report where they have touched this point, and their version is that though there is some reduction in the demand of the dollar from global south, but it is not that fast, which should have been. So I would say that in BRICS, we have to really bring this factor before the member countries to explain them how this can be beneficial, how this can increase the global trade within the global south to a very massive number, and so that they go towards this side.
Thank you, Professor Sharma, for very nicely explaining the importance of de-dollarization and the imperative of interlinking of the CBDCs of the BRICS countries. So thank you for a nice presentation. Now request Professor Khurana Sahab, who is an advisor to MERI Group of Institutions. He is going to enlighten us on BRICS initiatives since 2023, geopolitical, trade, and economic implications. Professor Khurana, please.
Thank you, Professor Jain. I have a great advantage. I am the last academic speaker. Most of what I wanted to say has already been said. On the other hand, there are some things which are still unsaid. So take it as dessert, take it as a cherry on the cake, whatever I would say, or a gulab jamun. But I would need that 10 minutes because I have sort of a job of kind of summing up, not real summing up, of what the main points. So I will knit them in. I will knit them in what I have to say. Okay, can we have first slide, please? 5.1. Meanwhile, sitting, I have created 5 versions, and every version becomes old, by the time next section comes. Okay, so out of the topic we had given, I had, and my colleague, Dr. Deepshikha Kalra, may I recognize her, please, Dr. Kalra? I'm a co-author with her, and she's very busy, so she's asked me to speak. Now, so I had carved out BRICS growth, current status, mutual currency payments, e-rupee, and linking BRICS CBDCs. And Mr. Sharma just almost touched all of them. Now, so this is gone also. So I will change the topic. Okay, but briefly go through all of them. Next slide, please. I put this up not just to say what these are names and all that, by now we are familiar, but to see it more from the management point of view. We'll do a SWOT analysis. Pick up some industries and see what these 11 countries are saying. Let's pick up oil. They have about 50% of the production and they have about 50% of the consumption. They are self-sufficient. They don't have to go to anybody. Pick up grains. Put Brazil in. Put Russia in. Wheat. You are sufficient. Have to go anywhere else. Then pick up satellites. With the Gorky satellite, which is being experimented in Russia, I just read in Russian, 36 Leos, they will have a communication satellite system, and they've already offered it to the BRICS. They don't need to go to anybody else. India can provide it, China can provide it. In other words, the global South requirements at much cost and with orders of magnitude latest technology, right, can be delivered. Chips, take the same thing. Mobiles, same thing. So we start thinking of industries. Like say, oil. Indonesia puts in its bit, Ethiopia puts in its bit, and Suez Canal should be widened so that that particular insecurity which is there goes away. And this group can do it. Next one, please. So that kind of SWOT analysis should be done for the next 10, 11 countries coming in. We are not then, you have strategic autonomy then, as Raj said. Okay, concept of BRICS, two parties are credited for it. Deputy Foreign Minister of Russia in 1998 and our friend Jim O'Neill from company you just named, JP Morgan, yes, hedge fund manager, who had said it in the form of the emerging countries in 2001. That these are the emerging countries. If you look after them, you are in good business, right? Okay, so his point was right. Really, it takes off 2009, right? And in my view, it takes off in 2014, when the initiatives, earlier initiatives, grouping, etc., they don't have office yet, right? Office was shifting with the countries in charge. And with the formation of NP and the infrastructure company. Okay, next one. Well, now 11 countries, the numbers are now well known, 46 the world's population, 35.6 of global GDP, PPP. I will not go into the details of these, but fine, which means it is substantial, right? It's substantial. Now, agenda for summit 26 is not yet out. Maybe we can contribute something to it. The usual things where the groups have already been formed. AI group is there, vaccine group is there, satellite group is there. All the relevant technologies we talked about. So it is like a corporate, actually. This is not talking about what is multilateralism and what is responsible. Nor they have ever uttered the word de-dollarization. If we want to use the word, then it is dollar dependence or dollar resilience. Where is the question of de-dollarization? We are not going to go and pick up the bills and destroy them. No, it's not de-dollarization, but somehow that word has got caught on and creates confusion also and creates that kind of fear also. Next one, please. We have to go fast, yeah? Time is very limited. So we have already talked about it. And main thing will be the RBI was given the responsibility of proposing the initiative on digital currency cross-border. Right? So they have already prepared the report. So RBI is taking the lead. In other words, the reason I'm saying is that the tasks have been divided. Different countries are doing different tasks. Brazil is also doing it. South Africa is also doing it. In other words, it is that kind of equality concept, right? And so is also the NDB. Each one of them was pinned for $20 billion, right? So nobody's got higher percentage than the others. Next. Oh, this is all right. Populations and all that. The only thing it shows is that yes, India, China, and Russia are in some sense dominant. But then these $1 trillion, $2 trillion adds up, right? And to say, after all, EU is also 27 countries, right? By the time we are 27 countries here, we would be more GDP and population than EU itself. In other words, intra-BRICS trade will be so powerful. And if the equations are right, if the barriers are less, the costs of logistics are lesser, the cost of financing is lesser, then this will be a better mode, and that is why it will succeed, not because of any philosophy or so on. Next, beta. Okay, so these are the rest of the countries. Tell me next. Yeah. Now, NDB, just to have a look at that, they've approved $32 billion worth of loans yet, 96 projects, no, it's 120 latest number. Okay, then the type of projects. If I take first three in each one of them, renewable energy, 2400 megawatt generation capacity, then transport infrastructure, then water and sanitation, right? So they are doing what a development bank does, right? And at lower cost, lower net cost. Next. Where have they financed it? They financed it everywhere. They have financed to non-members also. Bangladesh got 71 millions project signed, right? Vietnam, when it was not a member, got a project signed. So they have been given to what might be called global south countries, even if they are not members. So that's not essential. Next. Now, a little bit more than what Mr. Sharma has said, or Mr. Sharma has said, 2-3 people have said. RBI has proposed linking of BRICS digital currency. Each one of them is putting up digital currency. Ours is e-rupee. And that is renminbi or something else? China? E-renminbi, yeah. E-renminbi. Okay. To facilitate cross-border transactions. Therefore, then they will not involve. If I am not dollar, do I need loan of dollars? Why do I need transactions in dollars? If I am putting up a sanitation system here in Gurgaon, which is very bad, right? What do I need? 99.5% money I will need is rupees. So there can be a low currency law, which I will come to, that they have started floating. Next, this will remain interoperability has to be there. And I think in this particular summit, they will decide that, yes. Now the unit system. A potential unit system, some people call it BRICS Pay. We should not yet call it BRICS Pay, because actually BRICS Pay is what will threaten the US and the West, right? Why call it? So they're saying a unit system backed by a gold equivalent standard is being explored to facilitate international trade and reduce transaction costs. Next. Now, what will this unit have? Next, please. So this is all right. Next. Next. NDB again, a little bit more, 100 billion authorized capital, $50 billion paid up, $50 billion callable, equal shares. That's it. Yeah, next. By the way, how many of you know who the first chairperson of NDB was? Raise your hands. Let me give you a hint. Indian. My classmate, yeah. Vaman Kamath of the ICICI was the first chairperson of and the second one, Delma Duzov, was the president of Brazil before Mr. Lula took over. So it's very senior people who are working this out, and they know the system very well. And they don't want to go that fast. So they have figured out $5 to $6 billion per annum is what they will finance. Right? They don't want to jump into it. Thank God they don't have any bad projects so far. Next one. Now, why we are saying cooperation is possible. You can have mutual currency trade. You can have digital currency. You can have a unit, and slowly you build it up. Then you have a mutual system where you don't have to go anywhere else. Because shift costs are substantial. Two banks are involved. Your bank here, their bank there, third bank here, fourth bank there. Everybody wants their commission. Now, what are the areas of cooperation? Everybody has talked about it. So this is just a summary. BRICS countries cooperate in various areas, including economy and trade, international peace and security. Now, security, I think our friends from the Army and Air Force have gone. But the recent, what you call, joint exercise of the Cape of Good Hope or of South Africa should not be taken as, see, India was to join, did not join, doesn't matter. Iran was there, Russia was there, and China was there. Then next point. Next point here is that Gorky series of satellites of Russia. So they are at the last stage of actually launching it themselves, and they're offering it for all the BRICS. Third, Zidong, some Chinese name, I may be wrong, Zidong 1 is the first quantum satellite made. That has been experimented between China and South Africa. So in other words, this set of countries become part of the circle. And of course, with that's the Q band. With quantum satellites, the other satellite technology becomes redundant. Next, please. So, humanitarian sphere, committees have been formed now in all areas: science, education, technology, culture, and within that, vaccine or AI, so on. And they will be giving their committees in the summit. Sustainable development, addressing climate change, energy and environmental technology, promoting innovation, entrepreneurship, and technology. So this process is now started. Earlier, it was just at the seed level.
इसको नहीं मिल रहा है कर लेंगे यार मेरे बैंक वाला नहीं जैसे बैंक वाले मिलता नहीं है वो नहीं करता ही तो बोले जब आएगा ले यूज करना
So let's spend 1 or 2 minutes on future outlook 14.
क्या उसका एक तो महिंद्रा और दूसरा बोला
See, in my view, luckily the debate has not got stuck on this unilateralism and multilateralism. We are doing this not because we want to be multilateral. We are doing this not because we want to de-dollarize. It's because there is some other basic need. We are at similar levels of technology. Somebody is good at something else, somebody is good at something else. And rather than rediscovering wheels, we can all share things with them. And if that atmosphere is there, then the peace will be there. If I am trading a lot, I don't think I'll fight. And so also the other people. There is likely to be a leadership struggle between India and China. In this SEO, China is all there, Eurasia is all there. But I think both are mature economies, mature societies, mature civilizations, and they will be able to handle it. 15. I think I should close there. A number of other things. Next, beta, 15. So again, my confidence is that they're being part of the BRICS. They will be able to handle their leadership problems and even so-called border problems much better. They will see that there is advantage in peace. There is great advantage in peace, otherwise the monies are going to go to something which is infrastructure expenditure, like the armed forces. So my overall conclusion therefore is that this has become a viable group. It is taking steps. So far, nothing negative. Not likely to be negative because there are balancing factors also. If India kind of misbehaves, then Russia is there as a friend, and vice versa. So with this, we will be over. This will be very, very good thing to watch. It will change the global south. It will change India because if you look at the growth rates today and growth rates of West, by year 2050, we will be back at 1750 figures, which is India and China. India and China will be more than 50% of the world, and the rest will be there. But 2050. There is no reason why it should not happen. They have the STEM manpower, 4-5 million people. We graduate 4-5 million people, 10 million people. That is more than the rest of the world put together. Why should we not progress? Why should we not progress? So with this, I thank the organizers for giving the opportunity. Thank you, Chairman. You did not talk to me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Professor Prana, for a very exhaustive presentation. And I think for the young minds, it must have been very useful because he has touched upon practically everything for which at the moment BRICS stands for. And one of the takeaways for me personally from his presentation is that BRICS on their own, perhaps they can be a very self-reliant group. And if there is a synergy between the member countries, then there is no reason why this group cannot become numero uno in the world among the all the countries. And so, with this hope that BRICS would continue to fulfill its mandate for which it was set up for cooperation between the global south so that equitable and just progress could be realized in the developing countries. So let's hope that that vision is realized in not too distant future. So thank you all the panelists, Mr. Bipin Babu Sahab, Dr. Rajkumar ji, Shri Anil Sharma ji, and Professor Pranav. Thank you for wonderful presentations.
Thank you, sir. We are grateful for coming and blessing us despite your busy schedule. And I'm sorry I pushed you. He was very busy with an academic assignment at the UPSC and UGC, but still he has been very kind to, join us today. Express on behalf of the MERI our gratitude to you and to all the panelists. Now I request Professor Lalit Agrawalji, Vice President, MERI Group of Institution, to please come to the dais and present the memento to the panelists and to the chair. First to Professor V.K. Jain. May I request to Mr. Babu to please come?
हेलो हाँ जी
डॉक्टर राजकुमार शर्मा
इसमें अभी क्या रिक्वायरमेंट है आपको मुझे बताओ ना एक बार अभी क्या रह गया आपके लिए एंड से और इसके अलावा कुछ ठीक है मैं आपको एक तो आगे कोई कोड कर लो ना मेरी बात होगी सो मैं इन्फॉर्म करा
ऑनरेबल श्री अनिल शर्मा जी
ठीक है मैं अभी इन्फॉर्म कर दिया मैंने आगे तो बात कर लो आप ना मैंने बता दिया
and our own very young and our darling Professor Khurana ji. May I request Ambassador Ashok Kumar Sharma, our representative from the
Embassy of the Russian Federation, New Delhi, and other dignitaries, faculty members to please join us for a group photo before we disperse for the high tea.